Good morning. I hope you enjoyed that one. Today I'd like to introduce Rajiv. Rajiv, welcome.
Hi.
Sophie.
Hello.
And Joanne from Perth Leadership course done at Western Power. And this morning, they'd like to give you a background on their life stories. Who would like to go first?
Me.
Sophie?
Yeah.
All to you, Sophie.
Perfect.
All yours.
Hi everyone, my name's Sophie. I'm 29 years old and I live with cerebral palsy. I'm one of the 6 group members of Let Me Tell You here today to raise awareness about people with disabilities who face challenges every day. I'm very lucky in the sense that I am a pretty independent person. I live on my own, I'm learning to drive a hand-controlled car and live abroad and travelled a lot. I also work 3 days a week giving advice on certain legislation in WA. I'm often described as a sunshine in a human form and an inspiration. I struggle to hear these words the word inspiration because I'm just trying to get the best out of every day. Throughout my life, I have let people stop me from getting the best out of every day due to remarks, comments and questions that I've received mostly from people who are unaware of how things may come across. My purpose here today is to tell you one of the examples of something that has happened to me in a workplace to raise awareness and encourage disability inclusion across for employees and employers. So a few years ago, I was about to start a job in a disability support agency. It was a Monday morning, and as I was about to leave to go, they rang to tell me not to come in because there was a fault in their lift. With no knowledge of my ability to tackle any kind of staircase, they just assumed that I wouldn't be able to handle the stairs and told me not to come in. Little did they know that I had just returned from London and I was living in a house with 25 steps to my bedroom. My purpose here today is to encourage people to have that conversation with somebody who they don't know who has a disability, to not just assume about how someone is. Back to that story, I also had an experience where they also called me a guinea pig as part of their raising their statistics within their employment agency. And I said this on my last day. I told HR that this would happen. This is what happened. And HR called me and apologised profusely. This obviously shook me a lot and made me very uncomfortable. So I just wanted to tell the community out there that not to be afraid to ask questions to someone with a disability because you don't know what they're capable of until you ask. Thank you.
That was lovely, Sophie. And how you been feeling about doing the leadership course so far and getting yourself out there in the...
Yeah, it's been a really interesting experience.
Yeah.
I knew that this is something, learning about leadership is something that I want to do for my friends and my family and myself. I have a lot of stories to tell, and I think that I can use that in the future for future kids and their parents and things like that. It's been great.
Awesome job. Well done.
Thank you.
And Rajiv, up to you, mate.
Hi. So our topic today is challenges that face from the public viewers by a disability worker who works with a person who has a disability in the community. Having said so, I'm now introducing myself. My name is, you can call me Raj, and I've been working in this industry for almost 10 years plus as a disability worker. I had no clue whatsoever about what I would learn when I was first enrolled for a cert in disability services at one of the TIFF. So today my exposure to you would be, I made some questions and given some short answers so that we can better understand who is a person who supports a person with a disability. A disability support worker is a valuable trained person who supports a person with a disability and may not necessarily have a qualification. The next question is, what is the role of a support worker while assisting a person with a disability in his or her day-to-day activity? The support worker uses a person-centered approach to help and support a person with a disability to achieve partially or completely the things that the latter has chosen to do on a daily basis as planned. Another question is, what is a person-centered approach? A person-centered approach is a plan written for the person with his or her consent, which places the person at the center of everything. This plan focuses on the person rather on his or her disability. So things may be in terms of what or where they want to have their breakfast, what activities they want to participate in, whether it may be attending the bank, shop, market, or going to work, or attending social groups, or learning a new skill, or going to study, among other choices they may have to make. A person with a disability is no different than any other individual and has the same opportunity as everyone. I have worked with a range of diverse people who have disability throughout my career. So again, my topic today is more about my perspectives, in terms of my experiences and observation as a support worker. I see my role as assisting and empowering people with disabilities. I will give you today 2 examples, and I will explain what I mean by each of them. So example 1. So that is about taking a person with a disability to a shopping mall. So I'll explain to you what happened now. So many years back, I remember I was accompanying one of my clients to the shopping mall. It was just as pleasing in terms of experience to walk through the shopping mall and see everything around. That time was special as it was Christmas season approaching. The malls was decorated with so many beautiful ornaments. I remember I was taking someone who has autism. Now, just a little quick snapshot about facts about autism. Autism is a developmental disability caused by differences in the brain. It may be of genetic nature or unknown reason. Some of the traits of autism in adults are, for example, problems with social interaction with others, unusual interest in objects except those that purely interest them, need for sameness, great varieties in abilities, under or overreaction to one or more of the 5 senses of sight, touch, taste, smell, or hearing. And I can't remember how my client was so happy and cheerful on that day, so much so that he started shouting loudly at all the pendants and colorful decoration. I was very happy too and cheering with him. And I must tell you, at some point of time, I saw some people who were staring at me awkwardly. I wondered at that time what they were acting like. I remember at that time one person walked up towards me and asked me if the boy is okay or is he unwell. Naturally, it was concerning for that person and wanted to know what was happening. From my perspective, people don't see support workers as professional workers. They might be thinking that we are another person taking someone for a walk, or maybe we do not know what was happening at the time with my client. Well, I am a trained support worker, and I try to understand as much as possible the person I support. We follow guidelines given as per the organization we work for. People who have disabilities are constantly in contact with medical therapists to understand more about them and finding new ways of supporting them. Support workers follow different process about different situations that arises in the community. I know when my client is happy or sad and attempt my best to keep them safe and happy at all times. If I find in any unsafe situation, I know exactly how to resolve the issue. Moreover, the person therapists provide us, like support workers, with guidelines to do our job effectively. I'm mentioning all these to you guys because just to give this the right education at large, with people who underestimate the role of a support worker and may think differently. Years ago, this role was used to be a carer, or even today, still people think that those stars are only carers. Well, this is not true. This role has changed tremendously over many, many years now, and in essence, we are very proud to be nominated as support workers. This role makes us feel proud of what we do and how we support someone to achieve what they want. And as the greatest reward above all is us being in return happy. If you see anything when we are in the community, try not to jump to assumption or conclusion. Rather ask yourself what is happening. We can slowly change people's perspective in the long run, but for now, every individual should try to be broad-minded and inclusive. This will obviously build a better community. So I'll move on to my second example, which I mentioned before. So my example 2 would be, how do we empower others in their own ways? I remember I was taking a male client to one of the calls, shopping groceries. My client at the time was someone who had a mild intellectual disability. So he was someone who used a wheelchair, and he knew what to buy as per his groceries list. So I was helping him to push his trolley at the time. It was at the very end when all shopping were completed and we had to queue up at the counter. I remember when it was time to pay, and I was helping my client how to swipe his own bank card for the payment. But for some reason, the card was not being accepted. I took it very light and asked my client, don't you worry, we can keep up trying. Well, the sad part of it was my client himself felt very embarrassed because he thought he was taking too much time. He started to roll his eyes, getting frustrated, and wanted to go home quick. He started to look back at the queue and probably thought he was holding back too many people behind him, as he was very slow. So I kept on assuring him not to worry, but it was too late, as he felt very disappointed and wanted to leave. So I understood his feelings. So from this point, what I'm trying to say is, if there is any people in the queue for similar kind of situation, I'd like to make probably a request for people to wait and feel patient to help these people doing their own thing that we all do. That would be an enormous encouragement for my client to continue on that day and completed what he was doing without him feeling embarrassed. Little brief facts about intellectual disability. So people, they usually have trouble in solving problems, finding hard to remember things, have trouble in understanding social roles, learn to talk later, or having trouble speaking. Intellectual disability is a genetic condition caused by abnormal genes inherited from parents or other reasons. So there's a lot of expectation, I would say, from the community to see things with a different lens and really to encourage or empower someone with a disability to create or live a life of independence. That would really help and empower also the good work of support workers as a whole. To conclude, my friends, I am suggesting everyone to see support workers as professional and valuable people working within the community, for the community. This would be much appreciated. Finally, I must say that I love what I do as a support worker. As I said before, I work towards a person-centered approach and empower my client to take control of their choices they have made for themselves to live a quality life. I take pride in the job that I do to the very best of my ability, and in return, I feel humble and happy when I have achieved partially or fully what my client has planned and achieved on this day. I hope I haven't given you too much of an exposure, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Rajiv, for your awe-inspiring chat. Where you see yourself from here, being a support worker and inspiring people with disabilities to achieve their goals and dreams in life?
Well, I think the main thing is it's all about education. Yeah. So that's why in my daily job, I know for a fact that I work directly with people who is on the floor. So it can be colleagues. Sometimes I take an opportunity to be a coach and a mentor with them as well. So I try to give them the right understanding so that they get more in depth what they are doing and what their role are, so that when they go out, then they know exactly what they need to do and how they need to empower our clients outside.
And we're working at the moment in the call center for the, do you get a lot of respect there, and where you see yourself moving in that role?
Yeah, I do. I think that I am on the Disability Awareness Committee, which, one
Fantastic.
of the changes going forward for the future.
Yeah.
And I want to keep raising awareness within the workplace, not just with the people that I talk to on the phone, but my colleagues as well.
Awesome. And over to you, Joe.
Thanks, Jeff.
No worries.
I've noticed today a couple. I'll introduce myself.
Yep,
first.
go ahead.
My name's Jo, and I'm also on the project that we're working on with Leadership WA, and very grateful to be here today. I founded a not-for-profit organisation called Endometriosis Western Australia, and I'm an ambassador for them, for that organisation. I've noticed a common topic that's come up today, which is assumptions. So, not making assumptions about people, and also asking questions. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. As someone with a chronic illness, that's an invisible illness, and also a disability that's not always visible, that's the angle I would like to take.
Yeah.
And I'll provide an example of making assumptions. Let me think. I am winging it a little bit today, Jeff.
That's all right.
I'm not so organised.
Good.
So I think that let's use an example of a shopping centre.
Yeah.
So when I go shopping, it's not unusual for me to not use my cane.
Okay.
So I can use a trolley, because it's not really easy to use a trolley and a cane at the
Nah.
same time. So I'll be pushing a trolley around. And it's not unusual for people to come up behind me and run into me with the trolley and then say, "Watch out," which is pretty difficult for someone with a vision impairment.
Yeah.
But because I don't have my cane, people are unaware that I have a vision impairment. So I just want to shed some light in that space. I think it's really important for the community as a whole to not assume that just because somebody is walking around and doesn't look like they are unwell or have a disability, it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't.
Yeah.
And for the community as a whole to generally be a little bit more aware of their environment when they're out in the public and what's going on around them, because there are people with struggles. Saying someone with a vision impairment, watch out, is really difficult, because I don't know which way to watch out, and I don't know if I'm supposed to be looking left, looking right, looking up, looking down. So descriptive language really helps as well. One of my best friends has a child with a visual impairment, and he has trouble reading facial expressions, as do I.
Okay.
So this is something that teachers could be mindful of in the classroom for kids with visual impairment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And use more descriptive conversation with them when trying to communicate with them, and don't make decisions based on assumptions. So the child may come across as frustrated, but the reason the child's frustrated is because they're not picking up your body language, they're not picking up your facial expressions.
Yeah.
So you might be really angry with the child, and the child may not know that, because you're expressing that anger through facial expressions that they can't see. So there's a lot to be said for really articulate and descriptive language for people that have trouble reading body language. One of the assumptions that I get a lot is that when I am using my cane is that I have no vision at all. Okay. And one of the times this was actually caught me off guard a little bit was when I was at a shopping centre again, and I was in the queue waiting to put my groceries through. I had a basket with me this time, and I was using my cane, but someone in front of me clearly thought I couldn't see at all, and queue jumped in front of me. And I was so taken aback that I didn't quite know whether I should be calling that out or not, but I was actually lost for words, because they were sprung, queue jumping. But what would have been helpful for me at the time is if I had have said something for other people in the community to have my back and call that out. I was surprised that nobody did call that out. There were people behind me in line, and nobody said anything. So just a lot of people with a vision impairment or low vision actually do have some eyesight. I'm going to talk about shame a little bit because I'm a massive fan of Brené Brown, and she talks about shame a lot. Wow, this is actually quite difficult to talk about. I was on social media once and I was scrolling through and something came up in my feed and it was a photograph of someone with a cane reading a book and public shaming around that, faking it.
Yeah.
They're faking blindness to get a disability payment, and it was publicly posted, and there was a lot of bullying happening on that post, and that post actually stopped me from reading my book or playing on my phone on public transport. Because if I'm using my cane, I really feel like I should be blind, have no vision at all. And I think that is a really horrible position for people to be in. I think a little bit more awareness in the community around visual impairment can go a long way. I know that's probably just my personal experience. I can't speak on behalf of everybody else. But yeah, that was really difficult, and I still don't use my cane on public transport for that reason. Okay. So a little bit of education in the community. Again, it would have been nice to have people jump onto that post and use that opportunity to educate. Not all people with a cane have no vision at all. Some do have eyesight. I'm perfectly capable of doing what most people can do, just go about it a different way. And endometriosis is quite similar as well. That's an invisible illness that's quite debilitating. Yeah. And something that, like disability, has in common with my chronic illness and my disability is called retinitis pigmentosa, is that it can be quite socially isolating. I've noticed that since my diagnosis with endometriosis, 20 years ago, I'm getting old now, that it causes a lot of fatigue and pain, so you cancel a lot. If you get invited out to events, you're sick on the day, you're not able to attend. So there comes a point where people stop inviting you and just at home with your illness. I think that something that people could do to help with that is to be mindful to continue to be inclusive, continue to send out invitations, continue to invite people to participate and give them the option of cancelling or not, but please don't give up on people. No. And assume that they don't like you, assume that they don't want to go. I think that's pretty much it. I just wanted to bring the invisible and make the invisible visible. Just because someone uses a facility for people with disability and they clearly don't look like they have a disability from the outside, it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have one. There are a lot of disabilities and illnesses that to the average person aren't visible.
Thank you, Jo. And what have you taken from the leadership WA course so far this year?
It's been really wonderful. It's been a great opportunity to meet people from similar backgrounds with lived experience and also working in the sector. And I find it really easy to learn when the content of what I'm learning is relatable. So those conversations that I've had with other people have really helped me to apply the knowledge that I've been learning in the course. Yeah.
So any last things I'd like to say, Rajiv or Sophie?
No, I just want to say a thank you. I mean, we still had 2 courses in the leadership course, so I'm very grateful being part of that team and meeting so many now colleagues and friends and meeting yourself, Geoff.
Thank you.
So that's what a big work you're doing, what a big job. So
cheers.
That's an opportunity. So thank
Appreciate
you very
that,
much
man.
for yourself.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting me on the radio this morning.
No, it's welcome. You're always welcome to come here. And Tris is really done an amazing job of putting it together here at IPL Radio. We always, having a disability and being able to do my own show is something that I've always dreamt of doing, and I'm really appreciative of Tris and yourselves for coming in to give up your time to have a chat with us today. It's really, really inspiring. So thank you, Joe, Rajiv, and Sophie, and Christy at the back there for coming in today.
No
and hope you all enjoyed the show, and have a great day. Thank you.
Good.